Today, when Japanese people hear the word kenpo, they often think of modern systems such as Nippon Kempo, Shorinji Kempo, or Chinese martial arts. However, the term kenpo, as it appears in old martial arts manuscripts, had a somewhat different meaning from the modern image of competitive martial arts or Chinese boxing. Literally, kenpo means the method of the fist. The name may suggest a striking art centered on punches, similar to boxing. Yet historically, the term referred to something much broader. The oldest known official record of the word kenpo in Japan appears in Araki-ryū Kenpō, a tradition preserved in the Isesaki region of present-day Gunma Prefecture. The oldest surviving evidence is a license of transmission called Araki-ryū Kenpō Gokui, issued between 1789 and 1801 to the Isesaki domain retainer Kurihara Ioi Masashige. Interestingly, this document also contains the phrase Araki-ryu torite kogusoku narabi ni nawa, Araki-ryu arresting techniques, armored grappling and rope techniques, suggesting that the term kenpo at the time was essentially synonymous with what we would today call a broad form of jūjutsu. Modern Araki-ryu preserves not only unarmed arresting techniques but also swordsmanship, kusarigama. Kusarifundo. Chigiriki, weighted chain weapons. Staff techniques and nagamaki methods. This is the long sword nagamaki. It has a shape that is intermediate between a sword, katana, and a naginata, polearm. It was a comprehensive martial system rather than a specialized striking art. The curriculum even included methods of launching attacks from seemingly ordinary everyday movements. Unlike modern sporting martial arts, which begin with a referee's signal and aim at victory within a set of rules, the martial arts of this era were designed for survival. Practitioners never knew when an attack might come, how many opponents they might face, or what weapons those opponents might carry. Their goal was not winning a match, but surviving a life-and-death encounter. As a result, warriors needed a complete body of knowledge capable of dealing with every conceivable situation. Araki Ryu therefore preserves many characteristics of the comprehensive martial systems of the Sengoku period, before arts such as swordsmanship and jujutsu became distinct and specialized schools. The origins of Araki Ryu likely reach back much further than its surviving documents, yet the historical founder, Araki Mujinsai, remains shrouded in mystery. A martial arts encyclopedia published in 1714, Bugai Shoden, states only that he was a master of arresting techniques and admits that neither his homeland nor his accomplishments were clearly known. The first verifiable lineage begins with the 9th generation master, Komine Bundayu. Historical records confirm that the 10th generation master, Kurihara Ioi, inherited the art from him. For this reason, Komine Bundayu can be regarded as the figure who established the practical foundation of the Isesaki branch of Araki Ryu. The development of Araki Ryu and similar traditions such as Takenouchi-ryu was closely tied to the brutal realities of Sengoku-era warfare. When weapons were lost or broken on the battlefield, combat often descended into desperate grappling at close range. To survive, warriors cultivated practical skills, including throwing, joint locks, immobilizations, and various methods of controlling an opponent. During the Edo period, Japanese martial artists also encountered Chinese martial theories and techniques collectively referred to as kenpo. This influence encouraged many schools to study vital point attacks, atemi, kicking methods, and systems of physical conditioning. Consequently, many jūjutsu schools of the Edo period preserved not only throws and joint locks, but also sophisticated striking methods. Schools such as Yagyu Shingan-ryu, Sekiguchi-ryu, Kito-ryu, and Tenjin Shinyo-ryu emphasized attacks to vulnerable points before applying grappling techniques or methods designed to temporarily disable an opponent's bodily functions. Rather than existing as completely separate traditions, Jujutsu and Kenpo developed in close interaction with one another. In other words, Jujutsu and Kenpo were not separate martial systems so much as traditions that developed in close interaction with one another. Within classical Jujutsu schools, notable figures skilled in atemi, striking techniques, and koppo, bone-breaking methods, are often remembered through legendary accounts, such as Sekiguchi-ryu reportedly kicking through a thick wooden pillar, or Sasaki Gorozaemon striking and shattering a stone, i.e., while these stories may contain elements of exaggeration, they clearly reflect the high value placed on striking power and physical conditioning by martial artists of the time. In this way, the separate development of Kogusoku Torite, grappling in light armor and arrest techniques, and Yawara, unarmed combat, eventually converged and merged. This process can also be observed in the classification system found in the martial text Bugai Shoden, which records and categorizes these overlapping traditions. Expanding the perspective further, the roots of Japanese Kempo-like fighting techniques can be traced back to the Nihon Shoki, specifically to the legendary strength contest between Nomino Sukune and Taima no Kehaya during the reign of Emperor Suinin, Year 7. This life-or-death contest of strength is regarded as the origin of sumo, sumai, which later split into two distinct streams. Imperial court ritual, sumai no sechie, a ceremonial and sport-oriented form in which rules were refined and formalized. Battlefield combat, kumiuchi, practical grappling techniques used in armor during warfare. The battlefield form of kumiuchi later evolved into systems such as kogusoku and koshi-mawari. Through additional influence from Chinese boxing systems, this developed further into martial practices called yawara, which included striking methods. In traditional jujutsu schools such as Tenjin Shinyo-ryu, atemi, striking techniques, were acknowledged as important, but they were generally treated as auxiliary tools supporting throws and joint locks. This reflects the fact that jujutsu developed primarily as a backup system for weapon-based warriors, a method used when weapons were lost. In contrast, Kempo was fundamentally based on unarmed combat from the outset, placing striking techniques such as punching, kicking, and striking as its central core. That said, these were not the diverse striking combinations seen in modern karate. Rather, they typically involved delivering strikes, such as shuto, the karate chop, to vital points in order to disable an opponent before entering grappling range. Pure fist-based combinations and complex striking sequences were generally not characteristic of these systems. The Ming Dynasty military treatise Bubishi states, "Those who aspire to martial arts should first train the body through Kempo." Likewise, Tokugawa Yorinobu, Lord of Ki Province, famously described Sekiguchi-ryu Jujutsu as the parent of all martial arts, reflecting the idea that at the foundation of all martial disciplines lies the cultivation of body and mind through kenpo, unarmed combat training. In the late Edo period, it is said that the Araki Ryu practitioner Shinai Kenzan had over 200 disciples. His gravestone, dated 1844, is inscribed with the phrase, "Techniques of Sword and Kempo." His philosophy was expressed as follows: "This art uses ultimate softness to overcome ultimate hardness and ultimate weakness to defeat ultimate strength. In peacetime it appears gentle and calm, but when activated it strikes like lightning, with mind and body acting as one. Its mastery defies words." The spirit and techniques of Araki Ryu, along with the influence of Chinese boxing traditions, were transmitted into later schools such as Seigo-ryu, Shinyo-ryu, Sekiguchi-ryu, Shibukawa-ryu, and Yagyu Shingan-ryu, and further into systems like Kito-ryu and Tenjin Shinyo-ryu, especially in their development of kappo, resuscitation methods, taijutsu and atemi-waza, striking techniques. Today, many martial arts commonly recognized in Japan, such as Shorinji Kempo and Nippon Kempo, are modern systems that were created during the Shōwa era by reorganizing and combining techniques from various older martial traditions. They differ greatly in historical background and character from the classical Kempo schools discussed in this video, which survived the battlefields and turbulent history of the Sengoku period. Even today, Moro district in Isesaki preserves Araki-ryū Kenpō, a martial tradition handed down from the former Isesaki domain. Its techniques are extremely practical and rough in nature, retaining many of their old-fashioned characteristics. Although the art flourished until the Meiji period, the number of successors willing to endure its demanding training declined sharply with the changing times. By the 1960s, it faced a serious succession crisis and survived only through the efforts of a small group of enthusiasts, most of whom were already in their 70s. In 1966, it was designated as a cultural property by the city of Isesaki. However, preventing the disappearance of this valuable classical combat art and passing it on to future generations remains a major challenge even today.